Misha, how's it going, everyone? Cajun Geek here. So today's video, I want to bring y'all something that hopefully will be helpful to a lot of you newer players, as well as those that may be returning to Final Fantasy XIV if you haven't already. So we're going to be going over some customization, some UI, as well as touching a little bit on macros that might be helpful to y'all. So if this is, please consider giving it a like and help me out a little bit. But in the meantime, let's get down to it, yeah. All right, so first off, we're going to start with customization. There's a lot that you can customize within Final Fantasy XIV, all the way from effects, graphics, UI, you name it. We're going to go over some, and if there's something I don't touch on, feel free to add in the comments below. Let me know. All right, so pulling up the character configuration with K on the keyboard, we're going to go to Control, and then General tab, Movement Type. You got two. Standard and legacy. The difference is for a mouse and keyboard, your S is a slow backwards walk with standard versus legacy type. You do a 180 and you're walking fast in that direction. I'll show you. So this is legacy. W, E, A, S. You flip around. This is good, especially in boss fights. Can't really see too high up, but you see I got movement, move around quickly. Now, if I try to go at an angle holding D and S, it will slow walk, but very rarely by that time I've already whipped my camera around and I'm moving. So play with that, see what you think. The next thing I recommend for a lot of players, and I've even told my wife about this, enable skip previously viewed scenario cutscene. This will reduce the times that you have to see the same cutscene over and over and over. Trust me, and it'll make loading in a lot smoother. All right, so next we're going to go with the target tab. All right, so these two right here, ignore depth and cone. As you see here, I've got cone. You're probably still utilizing ignore depth. And let me give you an example, the difference between the two. So here we are out in the world, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a fourth hobgoblin over there. So using tab targeting, this is with cone. It's going to start center of my cone view, then move to the closest one next to it. Then it went over there because that's actually closer. Oh, the other one moved out of freaking sight. Okay, there we go. Hold on. Let's try that now. That's still not picking up, but you get the gist of it. Back to ignore depth. Now the other one just moved in, so this should show it now. All right, see how it's doing a round robin? It's ignoring the depth. So basically, let's say the goblin on the left is a lot closer than the goblin on the right. Ignore depth, doesn't matter. It will go round robin what is in your immediate visual versus a cone. It will start center and then go from there. So for those that have always complained, I know I've done this myself, that tab targeting doesn't hit the target right in front of you, cone is going to help that out a lot. So trust me, stick with that. All right, so next thing we're going to go over to the character tab. Okay, character tab right here, battle effects. This is a little bit on performance and as well as for streamers and content creators for Final Fantasy XIV. Depending upon how beefy your rig is, you may want to consider limiting some of the visual effects and battle effects that pop up from others. I highly do recommend this. Party and others show limited. You can show none, but at least with limited, you know that they are doing something, even though you'll probably see them going through the animation. Outside of that, the next one, we're going to go under mouse. Normally, these are both disabled, or this bottom one's enabled, top one's disabled. I flipped it. Here's the reason why. Hobgoblin's targeted. I'm clicking on the ground. It's not coming off. That means I'm always going to have my target. That's a really good thing, especially when you're in the middle of boss fights and you just happen to click somewhere and oh, you lost target. Enable self-clicking. I do this whenever I really have to do healing, and I'm going to touch on that later on, but this is kind of a personal preference thing. You might want to check it out and see if you're fine with it. All right, so the next area we're going to go to is item settings. Okay, this is the best one I could ever recommend to any player. Inventory, open all. So here's the difference. So that's your normal. That's open all. So literally you can see everything in your item. And don't give me crap about my inventory space. I know I got to clean it out. Retainer expanded. Best way to go about it. All right, so next we're going to go to UI settings, and we're going to scroll down here to display item help. We're going right here to display action help position. We're going with fixed. Here's why. Next to cursor, we all seen this. Oh, it's right there, right next to your cursor. Whereas fixed, it's going to be wherever your HUD UI sets it, and you can change its position. That's the best part about this. Now, if it's fixed reverse, it's going to be in that area, but also if you move over to the other side of the screen, it'll be on the opposite side. So that could possibly block chat. I have it in its own location. That's nothing else is going to block it. So it works for me. All right, so under the HUD now, we're going to go down here. There's several options that you can mess around with. You can disable, enable things, do so how you wish. I've got hide duty list during non-instance duties as well as instance duty. I enabled that the other day, my bad. The other thing that I have is hide the main scenario guide when all quests are complete. I get my real estate back. That's always something I enjoy. All right, next we're going to go to Hotbar settings. All right, this is where you can really kind of start getting a preemptive changing of things for your UI. For the most part, you can display hotbar numbers. I personally don't have it. Outside of that, I just hide the unassigned slots. And as you can see, I've got some that are different sizes, different configurations. It's all up to your preference. Sharing here, this is another key thing. So you can establish what hotbars are going to be shared and which ones aren't. For me, I have the first 3 hotbars non-shared. That means that each class is going to have its own unique 1, 2, and 3 hotbar. You'll see why when I get down to it. Basically, because I use a Corsair Scimitar, so this is an MMO mouse. By utilizing top hero 1 through equal sign, I can control the whole entire bar. And then by using modifiers such as control and shift, I can control all 3 with the mouse. This is very helpful, and you don't have to use this particular mouse. There are some very cheap $30 MMO mouse out there. You just gotta look on Amazon, trust me. And they're not bad quality. They're actually worth it. We are pretty much done with configuration. So now we're gonna be moving on to UI. So for this one, we're gonna go to HUD Layout. Let me walk you through this real quick. So the HUD Layout, you've got slots 1 through 4. Currently, I only use 2. Difference is, a lot of this stuff changes over here. Some items change right here. But for the most part, everything else stays the same. I'll walk you through it. HUD Layout 1, this is for my tanks and my DPS. I don't need my party list close by, so I can move them over here. And as a tank and a DPSer, I needed to see the target bar. I need to know, make sure that I still got them on target, as well as monitoring their health, especially for phases. And then, of course, depending upon the caster type, my progress bar right there. So I have changed things up a little bit from the default UI versus this. So here's an example of, this is the default UI. Everything's spaced out, everything's away from the edges. My gauge is up here. It can be a little bit better. And that's what the HUD layout allows us to do. So for this, I shrunk my hotbars, which you can do. Everything can be resized. That's the best part about this. I can even select what type of configuration I want the buttons in. For the most part, I just want my 4 rows, but I want them a little bit smaller to save on space. I push down my experience bar, my parameters, and then I kind of just start floating stuff around it. So my gauge, my enfeeblements, my info others, enhancements, my focus target bar right there, target bar right there, progress, and then everything else off to the side, my enemy list. Now, as I said, a healer, the party list and the alliance list are closer by. But for the most part, everything else is the same with the exception of the target bar. I don't need to keep an eye on it that much, and it can just stay up there. So, but as I said, adjust this, make this to your own. And if you think you got a better layout, let me know. I'd be interested to see. This brings us over to the next item. Why I have my UI set up the way that I do. Macros. So macros can be really powerful. More than just doing some, wave or something, or some very powerful transformations. Trust me, they got some glamour transformations out there that make Power Rangers look like nothing. I use mouse over macros. If you played any MMO, mouse over macros, very powerful tool. In Final Fantasy XIV, they are just as powerful. Now, you will hear some players, a lot of veteran players, say that mouse over macros aren't as dependable. I've been playing now since August, and I've been using mouse over macros. I just started leveling up a healer, and I've had no problem whatsoever. So the basic of the mouse over macro is /m icon, quotation, the name of the spell, all lowercase. Next line is /ac, quotation, the name of the spell with a capital letter this time at the front, and then greater than, less than, in between is MO. When you do that, it will pull up the icon of the spell and it'll make it mouse over macro. So how exactly does this work? All right, so I came over here to Lemensa, and I've got a couple members from my FC helping me out with this. So as I said, here's the breakdown once again, and macro's already on my bar. So all I have to do is highlight over. I don't have to target him or anything. You see no target up there. Now, you didn't see it because I'm kind of blocking it, but when I tried to target off of him, it went invalid. But the moment I was over it, it worked. Press it again over here, and I got him as well. Now, you can even hover over the body itself, and it's going to work. You got to be careful because there's a hitbox around it. As you see, the mouse icon changes. So your best bet's going to be using this. So that's why HUD placement is really great as far as making it your own, because you could actually move this closer. You could even possibly move it like right over here underneath your gauge, and you'd be able to get your full party. And the best part about it is you can even use this for reses. Case in point, switch over to Red Mage, you'll see that I've got for raise right here as a macro. So as a Red Mage, I can pop off a heal or cast a combat spell, and then I can pop off that instant res right there and get them back in the fight. Okay, I actually had to stop and make a correction to what I was about to say in the video. I was going to say that mouse over macros can be useful for even some combat abilities that require targeted party members, but I found out that that wasn't the case. I had to do some digging, some research, and then came up with a solution, or at least in this case, for Dragon Sight. And it's possible for other abilities that require a targeted party member, you could use it this way. So let's pull up the macros real quick. And here we go. Basically, instead of a mouse over macro, we went to a focus of the F instead of MO. That stands for focus party member. So we're going to target my party member, and then we're going to focus target. Now I can remove them as a target, and I still got the focus target. So when I go to press that ability, left eye works. So I didn't have to target them at all. I just set the focus target at the beginning of the activity, and as I'm in combat, just pop it on there, and there you go, Bob's your uncle. So the only other things that I have as far as macros, of course, you can use it for crafting. There are several websites and resources and crafting guides that show off how to use macros for crafting. It really is great when you've just got to pump out a whole bunch of stuff. And then last but not least, I made my own dismount button. And then to change between the two HUD layouts that I did, this is how I do it. HUD Layout 1, HUD Layout 2, and I got it right here on my fourth action bar. That way it's always there. I originally found a macro in order to incorporate it in my change plates, but I found out that that wasn't very efficient, because then I'd have to do it for every single one of my classes, where it's just easier just to have two buttons versus having to redo all of those. But I hope this was helpful for everyone. If it was, please let me know. And if there's something I missed, please let me know and maybe I'll do a follow-up. So in the meantime, thank you so much, and y'all have a great day, Sha.